Hi everyone, a couple of days ago I showed you my debugging graph for the Leadwerks engine 2.5 that I've made, and I've been working on it a fair bit since then, and it's starting to look good, almost at a good point to release, but I'm just going to show you today my progress I've made and a few other things. Hope you enjoy this video. Alright, so you can see our graph here. Similar to last time, except we've added a few things. So we've got our grid lines up and across, we've got our axis measure scale numbers, we've got our y-axis label, x-axis label, graph title now, and we've got our lovely curve drawing, and you'll notice that as it gets to the end, unlike last time, it actually does shift the curve across, which is nice. So yeah, I've added a few buttons as well along the side, so you can have more control over your graph while you're using it. This one on the bottom right is a pause button. You can pause the graph so you can have a better look at one section, and you can simply unpause it and continue. These next ones on the right here are your exaggerate down and up. So if I click this one, it'll de-exaggerate the curve. You can see the lines get closer together, the curve gets flatter and more numbers, and you can exaggerate the curve, and it exaggerates it obviously. So there's that. As up here in the top right we have our hide, so if you want it out of the way for a bit you can have it, and then you can just unhide it. It continues to play even while it's hidden. Yeah, we've got our exaggerate the x-axis buttons over here. It's useful if you want to see a greater amount of time. You'll notice that these are actually to scale. Like 1 is 1 second, 2 is 2 seconds, 5 here is 5 meters per second, 20 is 20 meters per second. It's not just random. And you'll see as I've increased the scale of the x-axis, the curve is drawing slower. So that's, we can get it really slow. See, it's just barely moving now, as it should. So we can put that back up again. Alright, now last one here on the left is just a simple reset. Resets the curve back to the beginning. Okay, so that's basically where it's at with the curve, and I'll show you a couple of uses that I've found for it, and I'm sure, especially when it comes to physics, when you want to figure out what's going on exactly, and rather than just having a look at your model and getting a feel for it. Now, watch as I accelerate in a straight line forward. You see the curve goes up pretty down linearly, and I don't like that. I don't know a single car that does that. So basically what I want to do is I want to make gears for this car, and I want to have a function for the acceleration or for the torque added to the tires. And now once I've done that, how do I know it's right? Especially if I'm making a lot of cars, how do I know if they're slightly different? You know, maybe this one's supposed to be much better than that. Well, I can use the curve. So if I had it right, the curve would, if you follow my mouse, it would go first gear, it'd be pretty steep, then change gear, it'd go down a bit, down slightly. Second gear would be slightly less steep, and it'd be like that if I, instead of being a straight line. So that's one use I've found for it. I'm sure there's many more uses for that. And yeah, so I really do hope it's useful, and I'll be releasing it fairly soon. I'm going to add just a few more things to it before I release it, and that is a couple of smaller graphs down the side for more information, which you can choose to add or not using the create graph function. I want to be able to put more than one curve on one graph, so you can sort of compare them, get an idea. Okay, so this, as the speed goes up, well, something goes down. Or for example, I also want to have another button to move the x-axis up and down, because at the moment you can see it starts at 0, y equals 0. But what if, I've made it so that my reverse is positive as well, because it doesn't really matter to me, but maybe you want it to go negative. Well, there'll be a button where you can move the x-axis up and down so you can see that curve going in the negative. And I think that's about it. There might be a few things here and there, but that's the main gist of it. And of course, all these other curves will have similar buttons on them, but they'll be more discrete into the side here. Alright, so that's all there is to talk about for the curve. Oh, no, actually there isn't. There's a bit more I want to show you. And to do that, we're going to go out of here. We're going to go to my code. I just want to show you how easy it is to implement this in. As I said in the last video, these graphs are completely independent of my game. They're an object class that will work with any Leadwerks software. All you have to do is the following. I'll show you. Okay, so the first thing, include the VariGraph. I've called it VariGraph for variable graph header, which I've got in my solution, and I've got the VariGraph CPP in my solution as well. Then we have to make an instance of the class object. This value is just the spacing between the graph and the outer edge of the screen, which I'm probably going to make it private and not worry about this later on. But anyway, for now it's like that. Then all you have to do is, oh, hang on a second, I've lost it. Oh dear, that's annoying. Had all my bookmarks set up and now I've lost the bookmark somewhere. Okay, here it is. The bookmark's there. Okay. So now all we have to do is at any point in our code we can call graph.createGraph, and you can see here's the graph title, the y-axis, the x-axis, and this 5 and 5 are the initial exaggeration x and y values. So when you click those buttons, these buttons, it'll change that value, but it's to just initially set it up, so you don't have to go in your game and click that button 100 times every time. Then of course at the end you want to update your graph, so you update your graph with here's your variable that you update it with, and I forget what these are, but I'll explain it in a proper tutorial later. And then you just draw your graph. Oh, sorry, this is the graph number that you're updating. So when there's more than one graph, there's only one for now. So this is graph 0. It'll update it, and this 0 here means that it's your variable versus time graph. 0 means time, but if you specify another variable in there, that other variable will be your y-axis. Okay, and then yeah, draw graph. And you notice I've just put this pre-processing so that when you finish my game, it'll blot this out, and yeah, you can do it like that. So it's very easy. I mean, there was 4 commands there, only 4 commands to make that one graph, and yeah, so I hope it's very useful. There's just one last thing I want to show you. It's not related to the graph, but I thought it was quite interesting. It's to do with the vehicle physics that I've been trying to figure out and get correct, and I've made a small milestone just with the steering. Now, I never really thought about it before, but it makes complete sense. Is that when you turn the front wheels of a car to turn, the outer wheel turns at a lesser angle than the inner wheel. This is because the radius, the turning circle for both the inner and outer have to be different. Otherwise, the outer will skid. This outer one will skid. So you can see these values I've got printing to the screen. This 44 degrees is the angle that this inner wheel is turning, and then from that 44 degrees, based on the axle length and the length of the chassis, I've calculated the angle that this outer one must turn so that it doesn't slide, like real cars, because real cars have this feature in them. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting, and so at the end of this, I'll hopefully have a fully working vehicle class for Leadwerks as well as my graph, and I hope that'll be very useful for some people, because I know the Leadwerks, or the Newton vehicle class is very very simple and unrealistic at the moment. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to get that graph out to you soon, and thanks for watching. See you later.